As wonderful as the telephone network of the 1970s was, there were some places in which it was relatively boring. The state of Maryland was one such place. Here is the typical Maryland local call. Ready?
Hello?
Okay, that's it. Thanks for listening. Seriously, the entire state of Maryland, with few exceptions, was covered by one phone company, C&P Telephone of Maryland, and that phone company used predominantly Crossbar 5 offices with Crossbar 5 type tone plants. And they were mainly connected together by T-carrier trunks. What you have heard is the way maybe 80% of local calls in the state of Maryland sounded in the 1970s. Not very interesting. And that's why there's none of that on this tape, because at the time I made this tape, I wasn't into recording everything on a phone trip. Instead, I recorded just little tidbits of things that I found interesting at the time. So I concentrated on test lines, Centrexes, and cool stuff you could do with the phone. In 1974, I made 2 trips to Annapolis with a stop in Baltimore. This first segment of the tape was recorded from a step PBX where I dialed 9 to get an outside line. The outside lines were served by the downtown Annapolis Crossbar 5, which had prefix codes 263, 267, and 268. On the first call, I dialed vacant code. On the second call, I flashed 11 pulses to get the permanent signal holding trunk. That was a common thing on Crossbar 5. If you picked up your phone and flashed 11 pulses, you would usually go to the place where you would end up if you left your phone off the hook. From there, I'll let the original narration describe what's going on. By the way, the tone plant in this PBX doesn't run all the time. It only runs when someone is using it. And so, much of the time when you pick up for a dial tone, you hear the dial tone generator getting up to speed.
Check the number and dial again, or ask the operator for assistance. This is a recording. Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Check the number and dial again, or ask the operator for assistance. This is a recording.
The code 999, when dialed from any phone in the office, stacks into a trunk to Silver Spring XBT 3017. When dialed from the other Annapolis office, which is 757 and 956, it simply gave me a busy tone.
I'm sorry, your call did not go through. Will you please hang up and try again? This is a recording. 3017. I'm sorry, your call did not go through. Will you please hang up and try again? This is a recording. 3017.
Now that, the code 999 at that time, was a phone freak's dream because it dumped you right into a trunk to a tandem. You heard the flash, it's waiting for MFs, and it's non-ticketing, so that if you MF something into it and the call goes through and it answers, no record is made of the call. That's very important because security departments were always alerted to blue boxers by the fact that they seemed to be making a heck of a lot of calls to directory assistance or 800 numbers. But that code meant you could get into the long-distance tandem without having to call directory assistance or an 800 number. So had I had a blue box with me, which I didn't at the time, I could have MF'd on that.
Now dialing a number in the 677-2600 group, which is a Centrex that has ESS ring. Now dialing 677-2899, which is some type of Stromberg-Carlson supervision test, which is kind of a strange thing to have in a step-by-step Centrex.
Now from the PBX, dialing my own extension and then a ringing number. The next segment of calls was recorded from a single-slot payphone in the Annapolis Crossbar 5. Unfortunately, it was a fairly hummy location. We hadn't gotten the whole routine of finding perfectly hum-free payphones down yet. Toward the end of this segment, you'll hear some calls where the dialing segment is omitted. This is because I was a teenager at the time, didn't have money for a lot of extra tape, and Crossbar 5 dialing was considered boring. So occasionally I would cut out the dialing segment and just keep the recorded portion of the phone call starting with the last digit dialed.
Now some calls to the code 200. You dial 200 and then any 7 digits, and depending on what 7 digits you dial, it gives you different things. There was no pattern, except certain digits tended to give certain things, but there was no really set pattern. Anyway, sometimes you'd get a combination of busy signal and high tone. Sometimes you'd get silence, and sometimes you'd get a ring combined with an ANI machine saying the digit 0 over and over. And during the daytime, they would answer dispatch.
You have dialed an incorrect or a temporary disconnected number at the Annapolis State Office buildings. For assistance, please dial 267-0100. If you are dialing within the complex, please dial 0. Thank you. You have dialed an incorrect or a temporary...
That was 267-1212. Next is 267-3701.
You have dialed an incorrect number. Please call Navy Information at extension 3781. Thank you. You have dialed an incorrect number. Please call Navy Information at extension 3781. Thank you. You have dialed an incorrect number. Please call Navy Information at extension 3781. Thank you. You have dialed an incorrect number. Please call Navy Information at extension 3781. Thank you. You have dialed an incorrect...
Now some calls to the 677 non-Western Electric Centrex.
The number you have just dialed has been changed or discontinued. Please consult your telephone directory or call your directory assistance operator. Thank you. Port need recording 1.
Now a ringing number and a vacant level in that Centrex.
The recorded message. The number you have dialed is not valid at Fort Meade, Maryland. Please consult your telephone directory or call information. Thank you. This is a recorded message. The number you have dialed is not valid at Fort Meade, Maryland. Please consult your telephone directory or call information. Thank you.
Next is another Centrex, 768-7567.
The number you have reached is a non-working number of the Motor Vehicle Administration. If you require assistance, please dial 768-7000. Thank you. The number you have reached is a non-working number of the Motor Vehicle Administration.
Some might wonder why in 1974 I made a tape of calling non-working numbers in so many government agencies. And the reason is that in the Annapolis area, this is where the Centrexes were. In New York City, there were a lot of Centrexes in welfare centers, but in Annapolis, this is where they were. And Centrexes at the time were very interesting to me compared to the rest of the local calling area, which was boring like most of Maryland. Maryland was probably the second most Crossbar 5 dense area in the world. 516, Long Island being the number 1 area code for Crossbar 5, Maryland had got to be number 2, and since AIS, the automatic intercept system, was developed for Crossbar 5, one of the earliest AISs was put in Baltimore.
number you have reached, 760-0000, is not in service in the 301 area. Please check the number and dial again.
Okay, now I'll dial one that is SF to AIS.
The number you have reached, 636-1111, is not in service in the 301 area. Please check the number and dial again. 636-1111 is not in service in the 301 area. If you need assistance, you may stay on the line, and an operator will answer.
Operator, may I help you?
Yes, I'm testing. Thank you, operator.
You're welcome.
Annapolis has both Baltimore and Washington area exchanges in its local calling area. Not the whole cities, of course, but just a few on the outskirts. I'm now going to dial a call to Intercept in an exchange that is close enough to Washington to have Washington Intercept.
Name me, Danny.
484-9955.
Thanks.
The number you have called is not a working number. Please check the number before dialing again. This is a recording.
So you've heard Baltimore's AIS and Washington, D.C.'s semi-automatic intercept system. And how do they handle regular vacant numbers in Annapolis? Well, they had a centralized intercept right in the building from which I was dialing. And it was very operator intensive because there didn't seem to be any recording. All the numbers that were not working in downtown Annapolis went to live operator intercept. Here's a call to it from a real treat, a 3-slot payphone. I'm just going to stay silent, and after the operator hangs up, I'll use the silent line as an opportunity to put some coins into the box and get the sounds of this classic Bell System 3-slot coin phone on tape.
Next calling 263-0000.
Number you calling? Hello? Hello? I'm sorry, dear. You've reached the wrong channel.
If these were digital devices or pieces of software that made these noises, it would be kind of boring, but this is electromechanical stuff, and there is something kind of cool about it. This phone having mechanical coin sounds has to have a transducer inside it to pick those mechanical coin sounds up. And the transducer also picks up sounds of relays operating in the phone. So, for example, every time I turn the dial and it comes back to rest, you hear a relay sound like this. And then when the marker connects us to the trunk, there's a battery drop on the line, and that makes another relay click in the phone, which you can hear through the transducer like this. So this old phone makes it a more metallic experience to dial around Annapolis, and I wish I had recorded everything from this phone, because it doesn't even have any hum. There are a few more calls I recorded from this phone, and the other Maryland stuff, which I'll put in the next segment.